One of the big economic stories out this morning comes from the US because the Federal Reserve has increased interest rates by 3/4 of a percentage point. That is the biggest rise since 1994. So let's go to our Washington correspondent Annelise Nielsen for the latest here. Annelise, this drastic move is in response to record inflation.
Look, it's hit 8.6% and the Federal Reserve wants to get it back to 2%. But in the meantime, they're dealing with some very difficult circumstances. While they've made this move today, it was expected that they were going to attempt to have at least 0.5% interest rate rise. But to then have it 0.75 has been quite a shock to many observers. And the fear is that there could be a recession coming. So this is where we're looking at these key economic figures of consumer confidence. And this has been one of the issues. They've seen spending go down. That's largely been driven by the lack of purchases of cars, and there's a few factors influencing that. There's a semiconductor shortage because of the Chinese lockdowns. There's also just record high fuel prices. We're spending over $5 a gallon now across the country on average, and that's hitting a lot of people where it hurts. And so we are going to see this increasing pressure on the economy, focus from the White House. But it was the Federal Treasury today that was pointing out that this isn't going to be a long-term strategy. They're saying that there's likely going to be a rise, though, the next month as well.
Clearly, today's 75 basis point increase is an unusually large one, and I do not expect moves of this size to be common. From the perspective of today, either a 50 basis point or a 75 basis point increase seems most likely at our next meeting. We will, however, make our decisions meeting by meeting, and will continue to communicate our thinking as clearly as we can.
Pete, of course, the big debate on Capitol Hill is what's causing this inflation, because that impacts what kind of response they can see in a legislative sense. Now, we heard the Treasury Secretary say that the war in Ukraine has been a huge impact. That's largely been the focus of what the Democrats have been saying. But Republicans have said, look, you spend $5 trillion in COVID stimulus. This is going to have a flow-on effect, and they think this is the wash-up from that. Not a lot you can do about that now, but what we are seeing is increasing pressure on consumer goods, and this is going to be a huge challenge for the Biden White House.
Yep, a challenge all governments around the world seem to be having, because we're having the exact same conversations over here too, as you know. Annelise, thank you. We'll talk to you again next hour.